So we've got to the stage where we're all working from home now, and the world of work as we know it has changed fundamentally. We're now moving into thinking about what happens next. What are we going to do post lockdown? And for small business owners and even larger business owners, will anyone want to work in the place of work, whether it be the office or anywhere, restaurants, warehouses, and factories and such like? Will it be safe to commute to the office? And we need to start thinking about these things now. People are comfortable working from home. We've discovered that it's all possible. We had this kind of hard kind of drop down, shut down, and it forced everybody to change the way that it worked. For many companies, they thought they couldn't, it wasn't possible. And now we need to start really thinking about what happens afterwards, and whether, will you end up with a lot of empty desks in a long rental agreement? Can you support sort of welcoming hot desking so that actually you can reduce your office space needs, and have people come in 1 day a week to hot desk and then spend the other 4 days working from home? The infrastructure, if you're planning for that, needs to be thought about now so that when we do come out of lockdown, you're in a position to kind of be ahead of the curve on it. How will you manage safe social distancing within your current setup? And what will people expect of the workplace when they come back? So one of the things that we're doing at the moment is kind of really thinking about reconsidering the need for desk space, allowing for flexibility, thinking about whether in your office space you can co-share with other SMEs whose needs may have reduced, and potentially generate a secondary income if you're on a long-term sort of lease with your office space, potentially introducing some new partitions, reducing the space from a 10-person to sort of a 3-person, and subletting the other part, or giving it back to the landlord so that they can do the same. And also sort of thinking about communal spaces, canteen areas. Are you going to need to put sort of 2-meter marking ups everywhere, or how do you make that space work so that it's safe for people when they do come back to work? And thinking about welfare as well, sort of toilets and small changes that you might need to make them safe for coming back to work, in terms of accessibility to sinks, cleaning operations within them, and the whole kind of life cycle in your office or sort of asset space, restaurant and such like, and whether we need to fundamentally have sort of, taps that turn off without having to touch them, so you've got less chances of bacteria passing and things like that. And having those sort of conversations, discussions and considerations about spatial planning at this stage is going to help you at the next stage. When we got to go ahead beyond that, looking at sort of more radical considerations in terms of getting planning above units, airspace sort of developments, potentially converting into sort of residential space that can, you don't need to be the landlord that builds it out, or the asset owner that builds it out, if that is your office or restaurant space below, but potentially you could sell it off with planning, and at the moment sort of considering those options whilst you can will put you in a position later on to maybe make those applications and think about the space beyond. There is discussion about airspace being more welcomed, particularly in London at the moment, to help with the sort of housing crisis which we're still in, and so thinking about how you can support that on a high street environment to generate income, where potentially the retailers below might not be looking at sort of taking up occupancy or coming back to store form. What we're offering is a free 1-hour video consultation to understand your business's needs, and establish if there is anything we can do to support you through these changes, potentially looking at how you can unlock long-term rental agreements, generate a passive income from your office or business space, and really consider your options. Remember, there is a lot of flexibility in, a lot of spaces won't be able to be let out in the traditional way, and you might be able to be creative about how you use that space and who you can let it out to. There are a number of suppliers and small businesses that have suddenly needed extra space, so having that flexibility in the way that you look at it might help you going forward to kind of really sustain the long-term vision after this initial lockdown period. Hope that was useful. Do get in touch if you need to.